Hey y'all, Serena here, educator at Keswick Wise and Well Center for Healthy Living in Baltimore, and today we're going to be making bone broth. Now I know, for a lot of people they hear bone broth and they think, oh my goodness, everybody's talking about bone broth, or ugh, yuck, or is it worth the hype? It's so worth the hype. It's so worth the time it takes to make your own bone broth, and to be honest, it's super simple. So in terms of bone broth, the big thing about it is that you're going to take some kind of bones. I'm using an old rotisserie chicken, or you can use beef bones. You just really want to choose beef bones that have lots of cartilage on them. And if they're raw, you're going to have to roast those bones before you can make your beef broth. So to be honest, chicken, like a rotisserie chicken, or if you boil a chicken, makes the yummiest and the easiest bone broth ever. So why do you do it? Well, for one, it's super easy to digest. You can use it as the stock for your favorite soups, or what we do here at our house is we just sip it in the morning as part of our breakfast. It's because of the way that you break everything down over a very slow process, it makes all these micronutrients readily able to be absorbed and used by your body. So the reason why you need bones is that the bones have cartilage in them, and cartilage, as it gets broken down, actually starts to gelatinize. And that's what's going to allow it to release those. Collagen is the building blocks. It's the most abundant protein within our body. Collagen is needed for your joints, for your gut, to keep you young. It's wonderful for maintaining your skin's elasticity. In addition, because of what we're going to use here, we're going to create bone broth that is very high in many of our vitamins, such as iron, vitamin D, vitamin C, and B1, which is thiamine, which, you know, hundreds of years ago, we had thiamine deficiencies. We don't see it as much anymore, but thiamine is a super important B vitamin because it's there for energy metabolism. This is also going to break down and provide us with lots of amino acids as well. That collagen, as we talked about, is going to support your bone and joint health. It's also great for, all these ingredients are going to help with a whole lot of anti-inflammatory processes, and it is excellent for gut health. We're all talking about that. We're all concerned about our immunity. Well, immunity starts in the gut. And so what bone broth does is it actually feeds the good bacteria in your gut to boost your immune system. It's also been shown to help with improving sleep, boosting your mood, and the longer that we cook this, the more it releases its nutrients. So the minimum is 6 hours of a low simmer. However, a lot of people will go up to 48 hours. We're gonna do about 12 hours here, mainly because that's all the patience I got before I'm ready to eat this goodness here. So I'm gonna walk you through it. There's tons of varieties and different ways that you can make your bone broth. This is just what I do here at home. And I will say, my husband was totally skeptical about this and was like, I ain't drinking that. And now he's probably the first one who'll be in this pot once this is finished. It is so yummy. And I spice mine up a little bit. You don't have to. You can change up your ingredients as well. I really, when I make my bone broth, it's usually because I got a leftover chicken carcass, and I'm just throwing stuff together in here. So, as we said, I've got a big stock pot here. I have one of these, it's Calphalon, that actually has the strainer in it. You don't have to have one of these, but it makes life super easy when you strain it, because that's probably, honestly, the hardest thing in making bone broth is straining it if you're trying to, like, keep the good stuff, like keep the broth separate from all the stuff, because you gotta get rid of all this stuff that we put in here. We don't eat it. By the time our broth is done, it has had every last bit of its goodness leached out of it, and it's into the liquid, and it's all squishy and messy and kind of icky, to be honest. So you're going to have to strain it when it's all done. So for me, I'm lazy. This makes life a whole lot easier. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna start off with your bones. As I said, I have This is an old chicken carcass. This one I think came from Sprouts, but you can get them from wherever. And then my husband threw some chicken fat from I think last night's dinner on top of here. You do want some meat, so if you notice, like I didn't try to, when I use this for another meal, I didn't take all the meat off of like the legs or all of the carcass, because you want some of that meat there to provide a little bit of fat because it provides the flavor there, and that meat actually will break down to smaller proteins and will make our broth even better. So first things first, dump all this into my stock pot. All right, so then as I go about like my daily life, like cooking and things like that, every time I get vegetable bits and pieces left, I throw them in a baggie. My husband refers to this as veggie trash. However, those that are a little bit more fancy and sophisticated actually call this and refer to these as aromatics. So I'm gonna open this up for you and just kind of show you what's inside. So we literally take just about all our fruits and vegetables and throw there. So there's like a chunk of an old apple. We eat a lot of red, yellow, and green peppers, lots of pear in there. It's a hunk of a piece of cauliflower. There's some green beans, there's some asparagus. You can see how many peppers we eat. So literally, as you cook, keep a baggie here, throw it into your freezer, pull it out, everything like that, and it gives you all the veggies that you're gonna need to get all the vitamins in here. And I just dump it there. I wash these out and reuse them because I'm cheap, but I tell myself it's because I'm being environmentally conscious. Maybe it's a combination of both. So if you look here, I've got this big pot full of my veggies. I always add a couple of other things here too. I always throw in a couple of bay leaves. It just helps to give our broth some really yummy flavor. I have some fresh parsley from my little herb garden outside. Don't have to have it, and as I said, sometimes my bone broth goes super fancy, and sometimes it's literally like the chicken and the bag of vegetables and, well, I always put hot pepper, crushed red pepper and everything, and some apple cider vinegar. You truly can make this as simple or as difficult as you want. As apple cider vinegar or plain white vinegar goes in this, and it helps to break down the collagen, the cartilage, into collagen much quicker. So will lemons. And I like lemons added into my broth because it gives it a nice tang. So I have an old lemon here, just squeezing it in there. We had a little onion sliver left over from last night's dinner. So same thing, cut it up, throw it in this big pot. Normally I like to put in whole carrots. Let me grab a towel. Like unpeeled whole carrots, but I realized we used them all for dinner, so I'm just gonna throw in kind of a big handful of some baby carrots here. They're starting to get a little bit watery, so it's a perfect time to put them in here. Carrots I love. Carrots are super awesome for, they're great for vitamin A, vitamin C, fiber, everything like that. But really they help to provide an extra level of sweetness to your sauce here. As I said, I love it spicy, so I always take some crushed red pepper. And normally I add peppercorns to it, but I just realized we don't have any. So no peppercorns, no biggie. Apple cider vinegar, it's recommended somewhere between 2 tablespoons and 1/4 of a cup. I just kind of dump some in here. I don't do a lot of like cooking with a whole lot of measurement. Maybe I should, I don't know. So the apple cider vinegar, or you can substitute white vinegar. I guess really any kind of vinegar, because really the vinegar's kind of whole job is to help this break down faster. So then all we gotta do is add water. So we're gonna add water to about 3/4 of this pot here. Ideally, if you can, use filtered water. We have one of those reverse osmosis, like pure filters on our refrigerator. And I always make a mess doing this. I'm not even gonna lie, there's water everywhere. I'm gonna have to get more water. But You want to use filtered water if you can, because the filtered water, big thing with it is it takes out any contaminants that are in your water, and it takes out the harsh minerals that get left behind as well. So these aren't gonna leach into your pot. And one of the good things about bone broth is that it's really, really good for your kidneys, for helping them to filter more efficiently. So we don't wanna add like really hard water to our pot, because then we're defeating the purpose of this. So when you make bone broth, if you don't have a filter, whether that's like a Brita or my refrigerator filter, this would be the time to spend $1 and get a bottle of just filtered water for your thing. So I've got to go grab some more water, and I will be back to show you how this goes next. So I ended up using about 16 cups of water into my pot here. I'm going to turn this on to about medium heat for now. I'm going to let it get to the point that it's got a nice kind of a slow bubble simmer going. And then I'm going to reduce the heat down. I'm going to maintain that for about the next 10 to 12 hours or so. As I said, you can do as low as 6. But I find that my broth doesn't have the richness associated with it. And you can go all the way out to 48 hours. Big thing is that you gotta come in and you've gotta watch your temperature, because you don't ever want it really to go to like full boil. And you're going to need to, because we're going to do this over such a long amount of time, you're going to have to add water in due to evaporation. So right here, I just have a bowl of filter water that I'll add in slowly as this goes on to keep my broth nice and constant level here, and that will just help to make it richer and richer. I've got a lid here. I'm only going to put it on partially. I want to be able to have a little bit of air coming into my pots here, and then, as I said, we'll be back to check on it multiple times over the day until we get to our final bone broth. This is super easy. It's kind of a leave it and forget it, and I'll show you the process as we go along. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye. All right, so we're now about 2.5 hours into our cooking process. So this is what it looks like. Tilt that down just a little bit more for you to see. You can start to see that we're getting nice and brothy. We're starting to cook all this stuff down. It smells wonderful in here. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more water. I'm gonna turn up my fire just a teens. And lid goes back on. Check it again in another hour or two. Now with this can also be done in an Instapot and or a crock pot. I don't have a crock pot big enough for all of what I like to put into my bone broth, so I don't do it that way, and we don't own an Instapot, so we are always on the stove here. One of the nice things about doing it on the stove is you can control your water, your house smells so good all day, and you can kind of just leave it and go about your business. So we'll be back after a bit to check on our bone broth. Thanks, bye-bye. Alrighty, we are about 6 to 7 hours into our cooking process, so take a look at this. It is nice and yummy. So if you notice here as I pull this up, much of my chicken carcass has actually fallen apart, which means that we have broken down the cartilage and we mobilized the collagen. Now I'm just really working to improve the taste and make sure that I'm getting every last bit of the vitamins and minerals out of my veggies that are going on here. So I've just got this on a low boil. I've added water. I've added a couple of cups of water over the last 6 to 7 hours. I'll probably add just a couple more cups over the next couple. Give it another I don't know, probably 4 hours or so. So it'll be somewhere between 10 and 12-hour bone broth. And then it'll be time to drink. I'll show you my finished process after a bit. All right, so our bone broth is finished. Look how yummy this is. So as you can see, the chicken carcass has completely broken down. We've got some nice kind of gooey-ish gelatin-like texture to our soup. It's good and brothy, I guess would be the word for it, but it smells heavenly. Now our big step here is to strain it so that we can eat it. All right, so I'm gonna move this over to the sink and I'll strain it out and we're gonna try it. All right. All right, so now it's time to strain this. One of the nice things about using these strainer pots is that really all I have to do is carefully lift and let this drain down into my main pot. And then it keeps all of my vegetable ends, my spices, my bones and leftover meat all in here, so it's much easier to take care of. I let this go right at about 11-ish hours. As I told you before, ideally you want to do a minimum of 6 hours up to 24 hours. The big thing is that you want to make sure that your broth, tilt this in and bring this over a little bit, looks like this. So it's very rich in color. It is got just enough of a gelatin, so it's a little thick, but not a lot thick. I'm not quite sure exactly what the terminology is for it. Because I used a lot of peppers and tomatoes and things like that in my seeds, I'm gonna have actually a lot of seeds in the bottom here. If I was going to be using this for probably like a soup or a stew starter, I would probably go ahead and further strain those off. I like to leave them in the bottom since we drink this and don't use it for soups and stews. We like to have a cup every morning with breakfast. It tastes good, it warms you up, and just gets your day going more than anything. About a cup of this is about 50 calories, so it's a great way to get in a whole lot of both protein and vitamins, and this is a great way to start your day. So I'm gonna go ahead and sift me off some here. Mine won't have a whole lot of, ooh, that's hot, fat in it, but especially if you use a carcass with a lot of meat on it or some more fatty bones, you'll definitely want to let this sit for a little while and let any fat or oil congeal on the top and then strain that off. The other option is you can let it cool completely or put it in the refrigerator and that layer will come off. I won't get that much of it because my bones did not have that much meat on them. So if you can take a look at that nice broth there, that's the end component. As I said, we just stick this in the refrigerator, sip it in the mornings, and enjoy it until it's gone. But as I said, you can use it as the base for your soups and stews as well. We just enjoy it. So I thought I had a tease tester around here. He's been asking me all day long when this is going to be ready, and now he's disappeared. Let's see. Here he comes a-running when he hears his name. All right, you ready to try this? It's hot, so be careful, baby. So here's our bone broth. Give us the okay. You're gonna have to squat down. You're a lot taller than me.
There you go.
So cheers to gut health Cheers to building proteins and immunity. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.